Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit your highly appreciated assets, all tax deferred, so you can create and preserve more wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I am joined by some of the best real estate, financial, and wealth minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets as well. You can look that up at expertcresecrets.com. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He's on a mission to help to make all things investing simple for people through education, guidance, and counsel, and really focus on helping each individual reach their full financial potential. He has unique specialties lying with high net worth individuals that utilize their private client platform to protect and preserve their wealth. This has helped him position himself to help his clients become more financially independent and secure. Please welcome to the show with me, the Scott Jarrett. Scott, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today. This is great.
Excellent. And for our listeners who are just getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Okay. Yeah. Back in 2003, we started a company called Jared Bunch Consulting. Recently, we rebranded to Invest. And our whole mission was to educate, guide, and counsel people toward reaching their full financial potential. And we've created financial engines, almost like a family office structure for our clients, where we help them organize all their financial information, help them weigh and measure financial decisions. And over that journey, over all those years, we found that there's actually a proven process for giving people to really live the life they want. So we put this into a book called Future Hack. And from working with high net worth people that have either exited their businesses, have developed real estate, however they've built their wealth, there's been a pattern of success that is actually replicable. And so we're putting it together and sharing it with people like you.
Amazing. That sounds really cool. We're going to dive into how to make money work for you, and how to dive into some of these secrets that Scott has learned around his time in the industry. But Scott, before we go there, I believe we've all been given certain gifts. So I want you to go back to maybe your high school or college days, right? Some people call these gifts superpowers. Some people call them strengths. I believe they're God-given gifts that they've given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, what are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Yeah. So I'd say that's a unique ability, right? What's your unique talent that you're gifted at, that you never tire from, that you just really love? So I guess when I was a kid growing up, I grew up in a very poor environment. I had a younger brother and sister that we just never had anything. We always struggled. My way out was playing football, got a college scholarship, and was able to, throughout that time, become a team captain and all these things. And that leadership stuff that I developed as a very young age was one of those things that I thought that really works for me. And deciding I could always see things. I could see abstractly. I could see connections between different things. So I actually got a degree in urban development to understand like cities, how they lay out, and then ended up getting a master's degree in technology and how to integrate decisions for tech companies and how they work and how they integrate. And it wasn't until we started our company Invest that I really realized that those same macroeconomic viewpoints that I was really gifted at seeing and be able to connect people and things together to create a better solution was the core makeup of our entire company today. So that macroeconomic, the tech side, and be able to create something that was macroeconomic versus micro to make financial decisions. So then you can go back in and build the real estate and develop the city and how the things want to go, by focusing on my unique gift of taking all this complexity and taking all these what I would call like your who's, these board of directors that you have that make decisions for you, and put them together so they make decisions on your behalf based off of what you said. It's that leadership ability to be able to pull it in, to look macroeconomically, to give someone the keys to make and be able to write their own story if they want. And that was the gift, man. So we built a whole company around it, and it's been a lot of fun doing it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So the leadership, connecting multiple things together, seeing things from a macro perspective, right? And finding out how they all integrate, and then centering that around the client and what they want. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like with
Oh,
capital gains, right? You got a lot of people in play.
it's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's dive right in now. So,
Yeah.
what is the number one secret for helping people to make money work for them?
The number one secret would be like, you got to decide that you really want to have money work for you. So there's a lot of people out there who just don't. So I think I always go back to like, there's people that live in, there's two kinds of people. And if you read our book, Future Hack, it's like you got people that live in abundance and there's people that live in scarcity. And a lot of times people are like, well, I'm afraid to take and understand how paper assets work, how to create certain things. So what happens is they end up having to work their whole life trying to create something, but they never get to the position where they can actually have trust and faith that they can actually manage their paper money the right way to be able to make something work. So that way that can create an engine to really give them what they really want, which is basically, we talk about these four freedoms. Like they want freedom of their time. They want freedom for their money. They want freedom for their relationships, and they want freedom for their purpose. Like what's their bigger purpose? And when I really carve it back, I find out really why is it you want this money? What is it for? And it's usually for these freedoms that they're searching for. And if I can create a world where they can get to the point where they can do that, where they can focus on their unique ability to spend their time doing what their purpose is, that'll give them the freedom to do what they really want in this life. The hard thing is for most people is they never can slow down. They're so busy to actually be able to sit down and write that out for themselves, to get really clear, intentional on what their core focus would be based off of what their unique talents and gifts are for them.
Excellent. So abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset, and then working through the four freedoms: time, money, relationships, and purpose. And once you define that, have a plan, have some coaching, training, consulting, right, advisor on your team, you can help bring that together. Is that a fair summary so far?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So then what's the next step? So like I'm sitting down with you for the first time, right, Scott? And I'm saying, Scott, I read your book. Like this sounds awesome. Like I'm ready to go. What is, give me kind of that, step one, step two, step three.
Yeah. So if you can't discover your why for money, it's more important than money itself. If you don't know why you work, why you do what you do. So we've created a program to really help you clearly identify what you're going for. So like the first step is to really get clear and intentional with what you want. The second step is you have to get organized in just what you have. So back when I was in urban planning, we would literally map out like an entire city. Like here's all the locations, here's the roads, here's how all the infrastructure works. When I got into technology, it was like, oh, here's the full data network for an entire organization, how it works. Well, our financial lives are no different, and we run our businesses in a certain way, but rarely do we run our personal life in the same way. So the second thing you have to do is get organized. And a lot of times people don't even have, we call it like a financial junk drawer. It's like over time you start accumulating more and more stuff and just gets piled into the drawer. And it's like, well, where is it all? And like when you go do your estate plan, for instance, the estate planner sends you this big questionnaire, fill this out. The banker sends you another one, like here, give me your net worth statement. A lot of times people don't have their organized money into a financial way where it has an actual financial model that you can weigh and measure financial decisions on. So until you can get organized and you can get the data to organize on a daily basis, you can't even make financial decisions because you don't have a financial model or what I would call like a financial game board to really play this game that's driven toward this bigger future that you set for yourself.
That sounds amazing. So I want to talk about this financial game board. So walk us through how you help folks to set up a financial game board.
So, you meet, ideally we aggregate financial data. So back to the tech days, we're in the information under management business more than anything. So we're pulling down financial information, and we look at things four dimensionally, just like you would look at like like when you meet with a, like for instance, a business would have a balance sheet. They would have like a net worth statement. They would have cash flow, and they would have a risk management plan. So personally, we do the same thing. We look at them those four ways. So we have a net worth. So it's assets minus liabilities. Then we look at cash flow. So what's your cash flow, money in, money out. And then we've got protection. So we literally have four domains, and you look at things four dimensionally. So every decision you make will impact all four domains. So for instance, you have a highly appreciated piece of property that has a liability associated with it. So you have a loan. So that's a net worth. It produces cash flow. And then you got to insure it. So there's four things that piece of property does. If you sell it, and if this is capital gains we're talking about, now your asset goes away. We have a deferred liability that's due. And then we might have an impact to our cash flow that's now out of our pocket, and then the protection goes away. So that decision, if we keep it or sell it, we make the decision. So now I can weigh and measure what happens. And then if I have a capital gains tax, what's the lost opportunity cost on that money, and what my future balance sheet would look like 30 years from now had I paid a tax or not. So now I can start making financial decisions four-dimensionally versus just saying, oh, that would be good, that would be bad, based off of one opinion of an attorney or of a friend or business partner or whatever. It's like, all right, let's put this on paper. Let's actually weigh and measure that decision so I can take my emotion out of it. My job's not to decide for the client. My job is to help them discover what's their best way to do it.
I think that's so powerful, Scott. And obviously that's why you wrote the book, right? And you've been able to articulate this so with so much clarity. And I want to just step back and summarize this for a second. But by the way, you can learn more about Scott Jarrett at invest.com, and that's spelled invst.com. It's all coming together now. So urban land, land background, right? You're looking at everything from from the top down, discovering, what parts of the city, would be good for a park, what parts of the city would be good for the business district, parts for the downtown, for the, for communities, for family, all of these things kind of fitting together on a macro view to build, a city that's well functioning and has chances to grow well, right? Let's just put it that way. And it's the same thing with our net worth, with our cash flow, with our asset protection, with our values of our assets if we're selling, and making these decisions not in these little mini silos, but on these four foundational ways of building wealth. Is that a fair summary so far?
Yeah. So you're taking the four critical domains, building a financial game board to allow you to weigh and measure financial decisions based off of your true why.
Amazing. And I want to make sure I got those right, because I have net worth, cash flow, protection, and then what was the fourth one?
Liabilities.
Liabilities. Got it. Okay, perfect.
Like
excellent. Okay, so now yeah. Okay, got it. Cool. So now we're looking macro, right? And I like the way you put that with the capital gains tax, because there are times, like for example, in California, for really where I'm at, you got folks that are looking at big challenges with rent control now, right? With California wide, with eviction control and challenges with COVID, with their loans coming due, right? With their age and their health and their time and their energy, right? There's the huge, massive amount of wealth that's going to be transferring. And a lot of my clients, before they meet us, they feel like they're trapped with this capital gains tax, or they're trapped with hiring property management or having a 1031 exchange. I had one client, his name is Peter, and he's driving from Marin, California to Sacramento about 3 days a week. And he's fighting traffic 2 to 3 hours each way, kind of a bear. And he's like, you know what, Brett, I have 18 problems. And I go, well, why don't you just do a 1031 exchange, or a Delaware Statutory Trust? He's like, Brett, I have 18 problems. He goes, I don't need 36 problems, right? And he goes, on top of that, I need some flexibility with my cash. I need some liquidity, some diversification, the ability to purchase insurance if I want to go back into real estate should I want to, or to maybe never go back into real estate if I don't want to. And he goes, that's why I'm choosing the Deferred Sales Trust. And it's interesting, as you're breaking these things down, those are all the things he was looking at. He asked about cash flow. Well, can I get cash flow? Yep, you can get cash flow from the trust. How much? Well, you can turn that on or turn that off based upon your needs, right? Protection. Well, I no longer own the asset itself, right? So therefore, I can't get sued by a tenant or somebody else because he is lending it to the trust. So he gets some asset protection. He's also able to pay off debt. He had about $550,000 of debt. And he goes, Brett, I went through the '08 crash and I had to claw my way out of that. And I was able to hold on for a lot of my stuff. But guess what? I don't want any more debt at my age, right? And then the last one was, I guess, protection would be just he's not having to get asset protection because he's not owning the asset. But all that being said, I love the way you break that down. So would you give us maybe a clear example of a client that you've helped recently, and what was the biggest kind of aha moment for them, and how does that help them build their wealth?
Well, if I was talking, so your friend here, the one you're talking about was making these hard decisions, you could hear the scarcity coming into their mind. Man, '08 and '09 happened, and I don't want to have debt. It's bad, right? I just want all this stuff. So that's a lot of emotional stuff that I hear, because right now you can borrow at like next to nothing. Capital gains are the lowest they've ever been, right? The market in California has gone absolutely astronomically high. So you've got huge. So it sounds like a cash flow issue, right? So in the four domains, right? So how do I manage my liabilities? I got a good asset that's generating, and now I've got cash flow. So the right answer would be to look at, okay, what is it deep down that you're afraid of? Because I'm sure you can rent these places out and do that. But if it's a regulation change, things out of our control, the market's at a high point where it's got to change, then maybe we do have to look at the investment specifically on those 4 critical domains. It may be a good time to exit the strategy. So I would start to really dig into, there's something at the root of that fear that he has, right? That we got to pull that thing out of, right? So we got to figure out what it is. But to me, it's a cash flow problem, because ideally I would structure that debt, push that out longer, keep the cash flow lower. So if you do have someone coming in and out, how do we maintain that? And then maybe we actually go buy more real estate. Use the equity that's built in and create more opportunity for you. Buy life insurance to pay the tax. If we continue to have step up in basis, this could be a really good asset for you for a long period of time. But we got to figure out really what the root is of it before we start looking at what that is. So any client that comes in, so we had this exact same question that I had with a client. I have a business that generates a couple $1 million in revenue to me in my pocket. It's in the home healthcare space. And I've got a private equity fund. I think I want to sell it. So a private equity fund comes in and offers them $150 million for this business, and it's generating only this much cash flow because the multiples are so high of what they can get for this thing. So now the question is, do I want to pay this capital gains tax, right, and worry about it, or do I just want the cash, right? And then how do we do it? So those are decisions, but at the end of the day, at that multiple and what we're seeing, like especially in real estate, especially in California, it's out of control. But you do have regulation issues. So it's like, how do we weigh and measure those things, those tangible assets, the intangible assets, and make that decision so it's not me and you giving them the decision, them discovering. But if that's the decision they do, it's time to exit, it's a high market, I'm going to sell it to California and go buy cheap real estate in Arizona or wherever, right? More cash flow stuff. What's that look like? Or I'm done and I want none of that headache or risk again. Then what's that look like?
Yeah, very well said. I like the way you said that. And I think for him, it was the time and energy, right? And versus that he was spending, because he has other properties too, right? That are local, that aren't headaches, right? That aren't stressful, that aren't, this was like a C property, a C- neighborhood. And it was causing a lot of stress, and he could never find really good property management. So he was like, what am I trading? Really, what am I trading for versus what I could have on a personal side of things, right? And then the second part on the business sales. So the Deferred Sales Trust works for business sales. Like we just helped another business owner in Alabama. He was having challenges with his partners, wanted to start a whole nother thing. So he sold the business for $2.6 million, deferred $600,000 of tax, and he's building. His next dream was to build multifamily projects. So he's building 70 units in Tennessee, and so for him it was multi-layered, right? The next chapter of his life versus paying the tax, but it was also timing related, right? He didn't have to force himself into a 1031, overpay for a property, right? He could diversify his wealth into multiple syndications and stock market stuff and insurance. And so that's part of why we love the Deferred Sales Trust for all of those reasons. So awesome. So I'm just curious, what's the biggest frustration you found when it comes to capital gains tax deferral, either the 1031 exchange or just capital gains tax deferral for business owners, cryptocurrency owners, public stock, real estate? What's the biggest one you found in your career?
I'll tell you, the trust thing you're talking about has me very intrigued about how you guys structure that, because it makes a lot of sense to take a highly appreciated business, if you can move in that environment, defer it, because we use a lot of lines of credit. I mean, we look at, there's two kinds of debt, right? You have debt that's good debt, and you have good debt that's bad debt. Good debt has low interest rates. It's attached to appreciating asset, and it provides you good tax benefits. So if you've got a business sale and you can transition it over, and then in the book, we talk about ways to manage paper money. And a lot of the real estate people don't really like paper assets because they are so good at hard assets. But if you look at the most wealthy billionaires and people in the world, they're really good at managing both. So what we've identified is like, how well do I manage the paper assets? And then how do I use velocity of money? How to get $1 to do two things, that this pot of money can now go out and get me the real estate to provide the cash flow, that if the capital gains deferral ends one day, I've got enough cash set aside ready for it. So like, how do we do it? So some of the best things I've ever done is just thinking through those processes of how that goes. Cause we're in the same situation, and we buy a lot of real estate. We have like a $200 million real estate portfolio with our clients and investors that have grown exponentially. My friends that I went to a school with in urban planning have become very successful real estate developers. I've got a friend of mine owns $1 billion in multifamily. I've got another one that owns them in office parks. I got another one that does hotels. I've got retail strip malls. So we've got a lot of expertise in these different areas, restaurant, food chains, different businesses and stuff that we've really worked with that have expanded it. But what you find is if I can keep that capital at work and then go get it again and again and again, that's velocity of money. How many times can you get that $1 to roll over? So it's how do you manage the tax that's there? Like in your case, this is deferring it. Okay. But today capital gains rates are so low, with the potential of it being ballooned in the future. They're talking about getting rid of stepped up in basis. Like, so it used to be just let it defer, die one day, get a step up, put it in your dynasty trust, have life insurance, double your estate, and you're like off to the race. Like you just spent all your money, enjoyed it, and then left it to the next generation. All's good. So it's that political structure that we don't know is uncertainty. So it's like, what do we manage these things now? But as you can create more income and profitability, so when the market does correct, and it will, and when the bank says, hey, that's my money, I want it back, well, it's their problem, not mine, because I've set myself up in a way where I am in control of my money to be able to make those decisions. But I'm not making a decision for a tax that I don't know if it's going to be higher or lower in the future, what it's going to look like. I'm just being as effective and as best as I can right now in present positioning, knowing that the world's going to look very differently in the future. So what's the most economic decision I can make now? And then I start looking at, so we open up opportunity zones. So we've done numerous opportunity zone transfers. We've done we've set up self-insurance companies to take ordinary income to capital gains in a roundabout way, if you do it right. So we've set up a lot of those different things. We've done 1031s. And then we just said, you know what, we're going to pay the tax and we're going to finance it over 10 to 20 years. We're just going to use these low interest rates they are, lock in credit swaps on the money, and then defer it out for long periods of time. So those are the kind of
so much knowledge there. It's like we could make like a dissertation paper on that.
Yeah, I get all fired up.
Yeah, no, absolutely love it. And I think we should chat even more offline and explore the deferred sales trust could do, because a lot of stuff that you're saying we can solve for. Like we can eliminate the need for the stepped up basis. We can eliminate the need for estate taxes. We move funds outside the taxable estate, and it's unlimited. And it's really remarkable what it can do. And to me, it's the best kept secret. People don't know about it. You can also get brand new depreciation schedules by partnering with the trust. So many things here. So that being said, we are running out of time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Okay. Knowing what you know now, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you'd make sure to tell yourself to do?
Dude, you got to be you have to think future focused. Like you have to think in the future. So here's the deal, man. You only have so many hours. So what you just said, I'm 25 and you're going to have so much time left. You're going to have to identify what that looks like. So you only have so many hours to do it. So if you're going to wake up every freaking morning, what are you going to do first? So you need to write down every single action item that you got and what's the level of importance. That's what most people do, right? Write down all the things you got to do and what's your importance. What you got to do is you got to add a third column. What's it going to be significant today? What are you going to do that's absolutely significant that's going to change? So you got to think about your multiplier self, what your self looks like in 20 years from now. What is different? I didn't learn that until I was like 5 years ago. I really started to embrace that because it was always about these action items and this. Now it's like, how do I take what I can do and then 10X? What's the significance of it for my time? And how do you build that? And everything else has process. You build process and procedure for everything else. So like your friend who's in there, so maybe his significance isn't doing that kind of real estate anymore. We have to eliminate that real estate. Let's focus like on my friend. They know very specifically what type of multifamily they're doing, what the parameters look like, what private equity funds they're working with, what type of capital they want to take on. So it's very clear because they have levels of significance. And that's why those people get to the multi-billion-dollar realm. So if I can went back and told my 25-year-old self, say, yo, quit doing the same stuff over and over again and getting stuck in your own head, start thinking about it this way, and you're going to exponentially grow yourself. So now you're not 10Xing every 5 or 6 years, you're doing it every year. Okay.
Absolutely love it. I've got to have you back on. We've run out of time here, but there's just so much more we can dive into. So I can tell you if you're up for it, Scott, Jarrett, we'll have you back on for another time just to dive in even deeper to some of these things. But for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time where they can find you?
Yeah, we're at invest.com, INVST. You can always also reach me on email, Scott@invest, and we're pretty much everywhere. So Future Hack My Life. So we got all that stuff. Got a book, download it, read it. It's got all the secrets there, man. The little hacks to live like you want.
We love hacks here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions, also stream on expertcresecrets.com. Hey, for our listeners, Scott, on behalf of us and myself and them, I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing so much wisdom in this short period of time. I want to encourage you to keep using the leadership you've been given, looking at things on macro level, the gift of looking at viewpoints and connecting the dots. We've connected some today, and I hope to do some more in the future. So I wish you well, my new friend. And I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also streaming on expertcresecrets.com, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options, and also sometimes their wealth options on how to view these things and connect everything on a macro scale. And using strategies that Scott's talking about and the Deferred Sales Trust are the best way for you to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and I want to encourage you to please invite somebody, share this with somebody who can get some more knowledge here, and go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. By the way, if you want to learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust, that's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And we appreciate everyone out there.